Hello.
You're connected, sir.
Hello.
Hello, Gloria.
Yeah, how are you?
I'm fine. And first of all, I'm so sorry. I don't speak Spanish, but just Portuguese and English. It's
Okay.
okay?
English is fine by me. I don't speak Portuguese. I understand it a little bit, but I can understand when people speak to me in Portuguese.
Okay,
But
let's do it. Let's do it in English. It's better. It's way
okay,
better.
of course.
So Gloria, I heard Magalhães, your new song with Carlinhos Brown. It's
Yes.
fantastic. You're singing Portuguese so fast. I couldn't believe it. I love it. So why did you decide to pay this big tribute to Brazil on your new album?
Okay, well, Brazil has been in my heart and soul since I was a child, and this is my mother's record collection with Jobim and Stan Getz, and then later Brazil 66 had a huge impact on me as that album I wore out in vinyl. And when I joined the band at 17, I asked that they learn, it wasn't even Miami Sound Machine, it was called Miami Latin Boys at that moment. I asked that they learn Chica de Ipanema, Mais que Nada, Corcovado, Desafinado, so I could sing them in Portuguese. I told Emilio, look, I think it will expand our, appeal if we could do different things. So we did. In the first album, we recorded a song called Malvina that was a Brazilian song. I believe it was Antonio Carlos Di Jocafi that wrote that, but the guy in a record company did Spanish lyrics. Then in 1983, I did an album called Rio, where I wrote Spanish lyrics to Lanza Perfume, Rita Lee, Wilson Simonao's Dingiri Bangi. That to me is like the first rap tune that I ever heard. It had was before your time, but yeah. And Baby Consuelo's song, and Eu Também Quero Beijar. Baby Consuelo, I think, did Todo Dia Era Dia Jinju. So I wrote these different Spanish versions for all of this. We've done many versions of samba of our songs live in concert. So when Afo Verde from Sony in 2016 asked me that he wanted to talk to me, that he had an idea that he thought would be exciting for me, because he was also a fan and knew my history with the music. He said, what do you think about taking some of your biggest hits and imagining what they would have sounded like if you had been born in Brazil? And I thought, oh my God, what a great idea. I want to do a few original tracks for the fans. So that was intended. We went to Brazil. We recorded in Sao Paulo with the top Brazilian musicians, Laércio da Costa, who arranged a lot of the things, and great arrangers on this record. And then I was coming to Miami to record my vocals because it was going to take me a while and I needed to be here for work. I played them for my mother, and she was in love with the record. And then when I was going to do the vocals, she got sick, and I spent 33 days in the hospital, and she passed away. So it ended up over a year later that I was really emotionally able to get in and record it. But the idea was always for it to be full of joy and celebration, as is Brazilian music, to be kind of like Cuban, because we share those African roots. When I went to shoot the documentary that accompanies this album that'll come out later in October, the idea was to research and talk to big artists in Brazil about the roots of samba and about the things that unite us, even though we're from different countries. And the Yoruba tribe of Africa went both to Brazil and to Cuba, and it turned into different sounds because of the Europeans that were there. When I went down there, I went with Carlinhos Brown to Candial, and we had a beautiful conversation. I performed Get On Your Feet with him and Dida and Filos de Ganji that he promotes and helps there. I saw the school he created for the kids. I saw all that he has done for that neighborhood and Brazil. And he reminded me of my husband so much, his energy, his spirituality, he's a loving, wonderful man. And when originally we weren't going to put Magalhães, it wasn't because it was going to be my music done in Brazilian styles. But when he invited me to be a part of his album and do Magalhães, he came to Miami And we made such a great connection that I asked him if he would mind if I also put it on my record. Plus, I'm very proud of the fastest thing I have ever sung in my entire life. Oh my God,
Yeah,
I was
it's so
sweating.
difficult. Even for me, it's difficult to say.
Oh my God, and I kept asking, what does a lizard have to do with any of this? The kalangulangu, kalangulangu, kalangu. I'm going like, oh no, no. It was hard. It was
So,
quite and I was very proud of having completed that. And I
so
wanted it to sound,
yeah,
good pronunciation, but it was hard,
yeah.
so hard.
So, Gloria, can you name like 5 Brazilian musicians who changed your life forever? Your favorite Brazilian musician, and tell the
Okay,
reason.
absolutely. Well, Jobim, uh, Stan Getz played with Jobim, but Milton Nascimento, uh, Rosa Passos, that's later in my life. Early on, it was Stan Getz and Jobim, that Elis Regina, um, Clara Nunes.
Yeah,
I love the richness of her vocal. Alcione, who was really like the first woman allowed to do samba. And it's funny because samba was created kind of by women. Those
yeah,
baianas on the banks of Lake Abaete would improvise songs that became, with Tia Chata when she opened her restaurant, and then her sister went to Rio. So it started from women, the songs and this part, but then I guess it became too dangerous when
yeah,
Carnaval went to the streets. But it's going to be mostly Sergio Mendes, who had such an impact on me too, because the album title, Brazil 305, I wanted to be reminiscent of the Brazil 66 that I almost wore out from my record player.
yeah,
But 305 is our area code in Miami. I wanted to create a bridge between Miami and Brazil. And then I found
yeah,
out there's 305 indigenous ethnicities
yeah.
in Brazil. Coincidence?
What do you think is the most special thing about Brazilian music? Something that only exists in Brazilian music.
Well, it's the most sensual music, hands down, to me. I don't know exactly what makes it that way. Maybe it's the joie de vivre, the spirit of life that the Brazilians have, the celebratory nature, which reminds me a lot of Cuba. Because in Cuba we also had those carnivals. To us
Yeah,
it was a conga, not the samba, which is why it's so cool to me that conga is now called samba. Because at
yeah,
the base is that African root that we share from the Yoruba tribe, same tribe. They went to Salvador de Bahia, they went to Cuba, and the mixes then made different music. Danzón in Cuba is French court music mixed with African roots. So I think the rhythm, there are all these rhythms that make your body move, and when your body moves, it's sensual. That's just the way it is. It's
yeah,
celebratory. It's something that, and then of course the bossa nova. I think the cuica has a lot to do with it. That's one of my favorite instruments. To me, it's
yeah.
like a ment. It's almost like another person singing with you, the cuica, and very hard to play.
Yeah,
Um, I got to meet, oh my God, I forget his name right now, but the most famous cuica player in Brazil. We had a samba de mesa with Mi Tierra, and Alcione was there, and Zeco Bagodinho, and it was
okay.
amazing. It's just, I can't describe it, but it just is.
Yeah,
It happens to be it. Maybe the combination, of
yeah,
the chequeres and the
yeah.
tambores. Just, I don't know. It's very unique.
Speaking of your career, Gloria, your previous record, The Standards, as a traditional pop album, was released 7 years ago.
Yes.
So, what did you take so long without releasing an album, new songs? You never spent so long.
Yeah. Well, it was not on purpose. It was really because of the loss of my mother that it derailed me. We already had the music done at the end of 2016. By that time, it was done. And I got to play it for my mom, and she was in love with it. I was going into the studio that week, and she got sick, and I couldn't bring myself to sing. To me, singing comes from my core. I sing since I talk. It was my release, my catharsis. I would lock myself in my room when I was taking care of my dad, who was very ill, and I would learn songs from the radio and play them on my guitar and cry so that my mom wouldn't see that I wasn't being strong. I wanted her to believe that I was very strong. And music is always very tied to emotion for me, which is what I think the fans like. They feel the honesty. They feel the fact that it comes from a very deep place. So I was in so much grief that I couldn't do it. And it just started delaying. Then COVID delayed it.
Yeah.
Then George Floyd, and I felt so terrible. We watched a murder, everyone collectively, and then I didn't want to take attention away from the protests, so we further delayed it. So it wasn't on purpose. It was just, and I believe that music finds its best moment. I don't think Cuando Hay Amor would have had the same response in 2017 than it's having now, because we need joy. We need a balance of everybody's living such sad moments and loss and fear and strangeness. So I think it found its best moment.
For some singers, some artists, it's kind of difficult not to be in evidence all the time, playing on the radio, on TV, internet. How is it for you?
It was never my goal, even from the beginning. So I've never listened to what's happening on the radio any time in my life, to tell you the truth. I listened to my record collections. I've always put lists together, even when it was easy, when it wasn't easy, like now that you could go and create a playlist of anything. Music is for my mood. So I don't like someone else telling me or, playing for me what I want to listen to. So, and it's also a trap. When I was writing music, I didn't want to hear what was happening on the radio because we're sponges. It creeps in. So I've always stayed very much outside of, and even now, if you ask me what the song has done, I couldn't tell you because I don't follow the charts or what it does. My fans tell me. It's funny because they'll tell me, hey, you got 1 million views of the video on YouTube. I go, yay, that's great. Or, hey, the song went to #1 and Tropical. Never really listened to that, so that's not the reason I ever made music.
See, you're considered by many to be the most successful Latin singer of all time, which is huge. Do you feel that you really open doors for artists like Luis Fonsi and even Shakira? Do you feel kind of responsible for that?
Well, I don't think I'm responsible. I think we opened the door a little more, just like when I was a kid, I would see Desi Arnaz singing in Spanish, Babalu, an Afro-Cuban song on live American television and speaking Spanish. Then I had Jose Feliciano and Carlos Santana. Oh, and of course, Javier Cugat, who really made popular the mambo that was invented by Cachao, who's Cuban, Israel Lopez Cachao. So there's always been someone that has, pushed the door a little more open. But sometimes the door gets pushed open and boom, and then it gets slammed shut again for a while. Yeah. Shakira, we had a lot to do with only because we believed so much in her that I'm the one that convinced her to do anything in English. When she came to Emilio looking for him to produce the albums, I knew that this girl could be a worldwide hit. And I wrote some of her songs for her in English, like Eyes Like Yours, Ojos Así, and You, and so that she could see how it could work that way. Shakira, being Shakira and the immense talent that she is, immediately started taking English lessons and started writing, and within 2 minutes had written her whole English album. Then I fought very hard, Sony, for them to release her album in English because that wasn't their intention. And they blame me. They go, if this is a failure, it's going to be your fault. I go, and when it's a success, it's going to be my fault too. So we fought very hard for her. Emilio actually got Ricky Martin on the Grammys in that fantastic performance that he did that just opened the door for him. So to us, it's a beautiful thing to be able to say yes to artists when all they told us was, no, you will never make it. You're too American for the Latins. You're too Latin for the Americans. You can't compete. So it was important to us to help other artists in whatever way, other Latin artists, to be world known. But I wouldn't take responsibility. They made great music that people liked. You can't force people to like something.
Yeah. I remember you on interview saying that you hope to sing in Cuba one day when the country is free. Is that still true? Is it a possible dream for you?
Well, the dream is getting a little less possible, I think, because I'm getting older and things are still the same. I take hope from the fact that I found out there's a Facebook page of fans in Cuba, of my fans in Cuba. That never could have happened a few years ago because I'm considered persona non grata by the government. Yeah. So the fact that this is even possible, the fact that I see Cubans with cell phones, and even though it's incredibly expensive for them to use the internet, they have to go to a place and buy it. At least it's a possibility. So I'm hoping that as the old guard, passes and that the younger people take control and open up Cuba more. I really do believe I don't like them to be isolated. I don't agree with shutting them out from the world as a form of trying to change their government. Unfortunately, that has to come from within. That has to come from the Cubans. They have to be, but they can't choose. They say they have elections, but they have one candidate. What kind of election is that? It's like, so I would hope for them that they can join the world because they're kind of frozen in time, and hopefully, but who knows? I mean, it's getting harder that dream. Yeah, for me.
For me, Gloria, in my opinion, Spanish-speak Latinos and we Brazilians should be more culturally united. I feel that we Brazilians are kind of isolated for Latin culture because of the language, basically. Do you feel the same?
Well, I think Brazil has its beautiful charm and the way it is, but I agree with you. Yes. And Emilio and I have worked very hard, especially in the United States, to create a type of unity because even in music, which is our world, even Latinos don't understand the differences of their music. To everybody, it's Latin. If it's Latin, it's salsa, all these things. And when we went to South Africa, we heard salsa, which is African music. It was named salsa by Johnny Pacheco in New York, but this is African music. So it unites a lot of our music. I do believe that we need to find a way, especially in the United States, to become more united because we are a very strong economic and political power. And of course, they always blame the last one in the country. Whenever there's a political campaign, fear is used against everyone. I agree with you. It should be more united, but the culture of Brazil is rich and beautiful. And yes, the language is different, but I can understand when someone speaks to me in Portuguese. I can't speak it. Complicated language. It has every sound and every alphabet. You know that, right?
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. True. Even the Chinese owl, owl, it's hard to pronounce. I try to do my best.
Do you have a favorite memory being here in Brazil? A favorite story of Brazilian story staying here in Brazil?
Gosh, so there's a few. Okay, I can tell you, and this one, I thought I'm a Florida girl. I can take the sun in Ipanema, and I got when I went with Emilio, when we went to Carnival early on in our marriage. We still weren't famous or anything. So I will never forget that. I've been with my children there, and I remember with both my son and my daughter being able to go to the beautiful places in Brazil. That to me is always fun because whenever I travel, I'm working and I can never get to spend time. So going, seeing Pan de Azúcar and the things that people love, touristy things. But one of my favorite things was a meal we had in a restaurant. I forget the name of it, but it was under these trees. And I had the best pan de queso ever in my entire life.
I love pan de queso.
With Emilio was very fun because we were young and, it was very sexy experience to be part of Carnival back then. And then later musically, being there, doing the different shows. There's a million different memories that are attached. I've never played live though. that is, I would love to do. We are originally, we had planned to film a big concert there as part of the docu series and as part of the album, but yeah, that was not to be when COVID happened. So hopefully one day.
Yeah. Do you know some Brazilian new artists like, you know, here in Brazil today, Anitta is the singer, most popular singer. Do you know Anitta or any new Brazilian singers?
I watched her whole documentary. You know what really impressed me about Anitta?
Yeah.
She reminds me of, you know, Emilio in the work ethic. She works so hard and she's very innovative. And I love when she did that live video, but I also am thinking to myself, oh my God, girl, you're crazy. Like that, she picks the hardest things to do.
Yeah.
I love this song that she did with Snoop Dogg. And wait, what's the name of that? It's on one of my favorite playlists that I've created of Brazilian music. Remember the name? It's oh my God. No, but yes, I love her music. I think she's fantastic. And she's brave. And she's also unapologetic about how she does her music and who she is on stage. And I love that about her. And she's married to, you know, her husband works with her and goes with her everywhere. And yeah, I really enjoyed that documentary series. I thought it was really interesting. And, you know, she works and she's known all over the world now. You know, she's...
Yeah. It's like you in the beginning, huh?
Yeah, she's worked very, very hard.
Yeah.
And I love that she shares and brings in other artists with her. What's her name? Jojo?
Jojo Todinho.
Yes. So
Yeah.
she seems to me very open and inclusive. You know, I like her a lot. I was going to interview her for the documentary, but she got stuck in some country when we were there and she couldn't make it in time. But yeah, I think she's fantastic.
Thank you, Gloria. I have to say it's really been a pleasure being talking to you. I hope you get success with your new record and your career.
Look, if people like it already, to me, that's a success. We're in a different world. It's not about, we're not going to sell a gazillion records. Those days are gone. So we will continue making music for the reason we make music, which is because we can, and that's my job, and I love it, and that's my place in the world. So hopefully the fans will like it, and from what I hear from them already, they do.
Thank you. Bye-bye, Gloria.
Thank you. Ciao.
Ciao.
Ciao.